moving this stuff around. Good. Welcome. Thank you. It's been a long summer of a lot of different kind of media requests and questions about scheduling and rosters and staff and a myriad of things. But I wasn't ignoring people on purpose. There were just a lot of things we were still working on and getting through. And there's actually still a lot of things we're still in the process of doing that. But now that summer's over, I figured it'd be a good time to kind of get people together, update them on the program, answer kind of whatever questions you guys happen to have about us, and then share kind of what I know as of today, which can obviously change, but probably some new things and some updates to questions people have had, and then maybe some teases for where things might unfold in the future. I'll just kind of go through them as best I can, and then whatever I miss, obviously more than willing to answer any questions you guys have. From a scheduling perspective, we kind of have two opportunities left. We have one game that can be a scrimmage or an exhibition, and then we have kind of our last game on the schedule, and we're kind of exploring a lot of different options for both of those opportunities, whether that could be a home game, an away game, an exhibition game, or a scrimmage. We're really just kind of weighing out all the different options that we have, and then going to kind of put those together. But the rest of the schedule is set. You've probably heard of a lot of those different games in different ways. If you have any specifics, you can ask me and I'll answer them. But right now we're just down to kind of those last two opportunities. I'd like to say, hey, it's going to be done in a week or 2 weeks or whatever, but at the same time, we're just looking for what's best for us. And if that happens to be quickly, then you might have the schedule by next week. It might be something that takes kind of a little longer. So that's kind of where the schedule's at. We feel really, really good about it. Our non-conference, Ken Palm, since I've been here, is in the 140s, I believe. Prior to me getting here, I think it was in the 200s. So I feel like since I've gotten here, we've done a really good job of scheduling good non-conference opponents. I think when you look at our non-conference strength of schedule compared to other teams in our league, we've been consistently in the top 2 or 3, and that's something we want to continue to be able to do. We feel good about our team, we feel good about our program, and we want to challenge it against the best possible opponents we can play. We've talked about this years since I've got here. We attempt over and over and over again to find really good regional opponents that we would love to play, we would love to start series with. There is no rock or stone unturned. There's no call that hasn't been made to all of those schools to borderline beg them to start scheduling opportunities with us. It just comes down to finding a willing and able partner in that dance. And so hopefully at some point we'll be able to crack through on some of those schools, but I've yet to sit here and announce, a series with such and such that would make everybody happy. We did continue the UTEP one, which I'm really excited about. We're starting one with Grand Canyon, which might not be kind of the historic opponent that we're all nostalgic about. But I also think it's an opponent that regionally is really starting to gain great credibility and should be a great series for us kind of going forward. So that's a little bit about the schedule. I know the roster has not been out. We've had requests from magazines for our roster. It's been very in limbo to a lot of different people, and myself included. I think part of that is the new age that we live in. There was a transfer in the portal today. There was a transfer in the portal yesterday. Kids are making decisions 12 months a year on what they feel is in their own best interests. We had that happen to us in May. Kids have that opportunity and that freedom to do that, and I'm totally supportive of that. But I think the counter effect to that is coaches such as myself understanding that these kids really at any time have the opportunity to leave, and I'm not one to hold them back. We have to be recruiting all that time, in case somebody were to happen to move on. So, we do recruit a lot. You might see a name, and we get a request of, are you recruiting this person, or you're over scholarships, or whatever it may be. And, at this point, I believe it's in our best interest to be recruiting 12 months a year and kind of preparing for potentially someone coming in and saying that they want to move on. It happens at every other school in the country and happens here as well. So I do think a little bit of that is the new norm. We have recently, gotten some kids eligible, which is good, and we have some that have not quite gotten there yet. So we do have some incoming players that are still working through us, either with the NCAA Eligibility Center or us directly, to where they're trying to get to the point where they're academically cleared to play. And until that happens, we operate under the assumption that maybe it's not. Even if it's a 99.9% chance. As you guys know, it happened to us last fall. We had a junior college player that was actually physically here. We thought he was coming, and a final grade came in, and it wasn't a class that was accepted by our school, and he was academically eligible but not eligible to be here with us, and he transferred literally after school started. So we just kind of keep preparing for that. I know that's a hot topic, and I just wanted to make sure I kind of addressed my side of how those roster decisions get made. And sometimes when people talk about us being over scholarships and things like that, it's nothing of malicious intent. It's nothing of kids getting run off. It's nothing of that nature at all. It's just us preparing potentially, for some not to make it. And the student athletes on the other end, or the potential student athletes on the other end, are always completely aware of the dynamics at play, of what we may be doing as a contingency plan or not. And there's really nothing that I feel as though we've acted, inappropriately. So that's just a little bit on the roster as well. Staff, obviously, we're now fully staffed. We had some additions this summer, and then some guys moving around a little bit. Really, really excited about the newcomers that we have there. Dan McHale is obviously someone that I brought in to be an assistant coach, and I think he's going to fill some terrific voids I don't know if there's such thing as a terrific void, but fill a void in our program, and I think he'll be terrific at doing those. He's a very skilled coach. He's sat in my chair before, has some good and some bad lessons to share, and hopefully will continue to do that as his career here progresses. And I think he has a really good feel for the things I want to do defensively, and I have a very good feel for the things he wants to do defensively. We both kind of were groomed in different ways, but kind of through the same system, and being able to kind of work with him this summer on finding our sweet spot with what we're going to do with that has been good, and I think it's going to kind of continue throughout the fall, and I'm really excited about our working relationship and where that's going to go. Craig Snow is obviously a recent addition. He's been a friend of mine for many years. Someone I grew quite close to. We've been in a lot of very good discussions and dialogue and stimulating conversations for both of our growth and development when he became a head coach for the first time, and then when I did too. And I'm really excited to bring him back, not only because of that personal relationship, but also just because his familiarity here and the success he went through here. At the end of the day, he was an assistant coach on potentially one of the best Lobo teams that has ever been here. So to be able to draw from that selfishly for me and for us is a great advantage. And I think the relationships he has in the community, being a high school coach and an athletic director here, and the years he's spent should also just be a great benefit to me and our program. So those two additions to me are major improvements for us, for me, for our players to be able to kind of grow from. So that's kind of where those initiatives are, just as far as the program in general. As far as specifics go, I thought we had a really good summer. J.J. Caldwell did not get cleared until like the end of the summer. So we only really got him for a couple of weeks. Not everyone has totally joined us, but I thought overall we did a lot of really good things. Our chemistry this summer, and I think the guys' just kind of connectedness has been much better than I ever anticipated. I thought there would be a lot more input on my part into trying to kind of craft and create us. But I really feel as though right now what I'm feeling from our guys, the leadership, the ownership, is vastly superior to anything since I've been here. And it's encouraging for me because as I look back on last year and the journey that I went through, in addition to the journey we went through, I felt in a lot of situations that I had to kind of take the mantle on, take the lead on a lot of things, and either take the heat for certain things and deflect it a little bit from them. And that, I don't know if that, I don't want to sound as if I'm being disrespectful to anyone or anything, but I just don't know if our guys were really there yet to kind of take things and take on the brunt of things. And I decided to kind of do a lot of that myself. And as I'm looking at this year's team, I really think a lot of these players can kind of take the lead on things. And I'm encouraged by that. I think that's great. I want to be able to trust them and allow them to kind of coach this team a little bit more than I have been. I've been such a dominating presence on this thing. I'd like that to be more of a team, more of we're in this together, as opposed to me all the time kind of dictating our flow, dictating kind of our energy. And I feel that from the guys we have. I think they're confident enough, experienced enough, and just have that kind of a personality about them that they're going to help lead this team with me. It's not just going to be me out in front and everybody else behind trying to catch up. So, I felt that this summer, and that wasn't something I went into it expecting or even wanting. I mean, you want it as a coach, but I felt like this summer those guys really demonstrated that. The leadership was terrific. So I'm encouraged by that. I'm hopeful we'll be able to continue it in the fall. We'll obviously add a couple more guys in the fall and kind of juggle through that. We're really excited about recruiting. I think this might be the first potential class, and I say potential because you never know how this stuff plays out, where we can really go out and just identify good high school seniors that we feel really good about and be able to bring them into our program and allow them to kind of develop organically and somewhat naturally. I think the idea of signing 4 freshman high school players every year and allowing them to grow is a little outdated just because of the transfer rate. But at the same time, I think we've now finally got our team to the experience level and to the depth level where we can start to bring in high school kids consistently and allow them to matriculate through the program naturally without either throwing them into the fire too soon or judging them too early, and just allowing them to kind of grow. And I think the freshmen that have come in before these guys have been in a little bit more of a difficult situation because we just haven't had the depth and, quite honestly, the talent that we would have wanted to just bring them in a nice, patient process. So I feel good about that. That's our intent right now. Obviously, as I said, potentially those things can kind of move different ways, but I feel really good about the guys we're recruiting right now and hopefully who we're going to be bringing in here even over the next couple of weeks before school starts, and just kind of getting ahead of that game. We know we have some needs up front. We've left ourselves here at a point where we've got a lot of bigs and they're seniors and they're going to move on, and we're going to have to find bigs to kind of replace them. But I think overall, in general, we feel very good about just the talent level, the experience, and the depth of our roster. And there are different times in my first 2 years here where maybe we've had great players here and not great players there, or good at this position and not maybe at others. But I think now we've in 3 years we finally got it to the point where we feel really good about our depth across the board, not only with as far as high-end talent, but just kind of through the positions, vertically and horizontally around our roster. So I'm excited about that and just looking forward to the season. I know our season's a little far off as far as getting going in November, but we're in preparations now. Summer school ended on Monday. The guys are going to go home for a couple of weeks, and then when we come back, it's really all systems go. On kind of a greater level, we're continuing to kind of do whatever we can as a basketball program to represent our department well, our institution well. There's obviously been a lot of change and a lot of things in newspapers over the last couple of years, and all we want to do and all we want to try and do is be a part of the solution, help, do whatever we can. We're not always going to be perfect. We know that. UNM and the athletic department obviously goes through the same thing, but we're trying to team up and do with whoever we can, however we can, things to just help UNM and help the Lobos. I know we're in the midst of planning a lot of different things with football. You guys know I'm a football fan. I love football. Coach Davey has been a good friend to me since I've been here. We're trying to partner with them on some season ticket campaigns between football and basketball, where people don't have to necessarily think of themselves as pro or against basketball or football. Really, we're all in this together, and hopefully we'll be able to kind of continue to demonstrate that. I'm Bob's biggest fan and want our Lobo football team to be terrific, and our basketball team will do anything we can to kind of help make that happen, even as small as that role may be. We're toying around with some other ideas this fall. I know football did a women's clinic. We're toying around with the idea of doing something where we bring women into Lobo basketball. It won't be anything directly like football, but just a different idea where we can bring women around Lobo basketball and kind of have some fun with that. We're talking about doing tailgates with other teams in our department. So our team as as ourselves, are doing a lot of different things. You guys will probably read about them. I'm not trying to hijack the media right now and take away from football, because we're 1 month out from our opening football game, and obviously all eyes are on that. But I also didn't want to go too far without meeting with you guys. It's been a long summer with a lot of questions, and I just wanted to make sure I got in front of you and did that stuff as well. So I think that's really about it. Any questions? I'd be glad to answer them.
Does Auburn take care of the Power 5 want as far as trying to fill out the rest of the schedule?
That's a good question. I'd say as a whole, yes, but at the same time, if a really good opportunity presents itself to us, we wouldn't say no. I mean, I think as everyone around here knows, getting quality opponents to come to the pit is a major task. And if somebody of good relevance, brand, makes a lot of sense, presents themselves, we're all about it. We're fortunate UTEP wants to reciprocate. Grand Canyon wants to reciprocate. New Mexico State's already wired in. Everyone else that makes sense, we try on a daily basis. And if a window ever cracks for that, even though we have Auburn on the schedule, we would do it in a heartbeat because we've just been at it for so long trying to get these schools to do it. And as these Power 5 schools extend their conference schedules and go from 14 to 16 to 18 to 20 and up, their willingness to play series with us has diminished drastically. They really only have to have good conference seasons to make an NCAA tournament. So it's of no interest really for them to play us. But if we can ever get an opportunity where someone's willing to, we would do it in a heartbeat. So yes, you're right. But B, I don't think that precludes us from saying, wow, you want to play a series, we'd love to do it.
Kurt, the player for NBA Africa Academy, has he made it here yet?
He has not. Kurt is still working through NCAA Eligibility Center to get cleared. We're hopeful. All systems from our standpoint are go, from their standpoint is go. It's a little bit tricky because the NBA Academy just started and they're working through new things on their end with the NCAA and courses and things like that. We totally expect him to be here. I'd be totally honest if that wasn't the case, but he has not yet officially been cleared to go.
You know when they might tell you?
We should be pretty quick. He literally submitted his paperwork for graduation, I'm going to say Monday. So we're hoping to hear back any day.
Coach, this is the first time you've ever had the entire roster and the entire staff. That's all your guys.
Yeah.
I mean, expectations are what they are in New Mexico, but does that change anything for the way this program can be viewed now that it's all yours? You know,
I've never operated under that premise. The people that were here, I worked with them as if they were my own. I would hope that Dane, Anthony, Joe, Sam Logwood, I would not think that they would look back and think, man, that wasn't my coach, or he didn't give me everything he's got. But I would say the same thing about coaches, that were here, or staff members. As I say all that, I would be lying if I didn't say there's just a different vibe around our program this summer. There just is. There's a connectedness, there's an energy, and the reality is all these people did sign up for me. All these people did come here knowing I was the head coach. And is that directly correlated? I don't know. But I do like where we're at. I love the dynamic at our practices. I love the dynamic in our staff and just our program. It's got a really good, positive vibe about this coming season, about where we're at. We don't talk about the past. We don't bring it up. It's exciting. And that probably has something to do with what you're saying, would be my guess.
Coach, when you talked about your guys and the energy and all that, and leadership, is it more of a maturity thing? Like you feel like you have more mature guys doing things instead of worrying about little stuff, they're getting the business at hand done?
For sure. I mean, look, we were young last year. That's the reality of it. We had, whatever it was, 8 freshmen and sophomores playing. I mean, we were young, and that's part of the process of it. So I think there is a maturity and experience element to it. But I also do think these guys, in whatever way, have just come together. I don't know whether it was just kind of allowing other things to exhaust themselves or what it may be, but they've bonded in some way, in some form. They've kind of connected themselves. And like I said, they've they've done some coaching, and I really we haven't had that since Joe Firstinger, as far as a guy that I feel like I leave the room and things are going to get better, someone else is going to, support or just lead, and I think we've got that now, I felt that anyways.
Coach, you talked about some guys are eligible, a couple others
Yep.
aren't. Let's say they all get eligible. Where are your numbers? Is this a situation where you're going to have to pick and choose?
No, at this point, the players the PSAs we're expecting to be here will fill our 13 scholarships for the upcoming season. So at this point, I've never. No, there are no tough decisions to make. I have not brought someone in and said, you might not be on scholarship next year. All the players that were returning, all their scholarships were renewed when the time was to renew. There's no one that I've brought in and said, you're not allowed to come back next year.
I know CB and Jaquan, they live together, the two oldest guys on the team. They both talked to me about kind of taking that leadership role. But do you have anything to do with living situations, and did you approach those two and say, look, this is your time?
Yeah. I've told all our players in the same role. As of now, they live in a facility called Lobo Village, which is across the street. And I've told them all when they are seniors, if they would like to move out, they're more than welcome to move out. I remember my college experience, and that was the option I gave them because, hey, sometimes when we get to our senior year, we're kind of over that freshman, younger kid lifestyle, and we're older, and we just want our own space, and we want to get our degree done, and we just want to be more of an adult. And this was the first year where I've actually had seniors. The first year I was here, the seniors all wanted to stay there. Last year, the seniors all wanted to stay here. This was the first year I had seniors saying, you know what, I'm ready to move on and be an adult. They're both older. They're fifth-year kids. And I think they just wanted to maybe get a more adult, mature lifestyle as opposed to kind of the college experience of the dorms that they live in now.
You've talked a little bit about promotions. Do you have anything about the Howl or the Tyrion Silver event yet?
We've just started on that. We actually had a marketing meeting Monday morning, and we started to kind of talk about ideas. Our number one priority right now is our season ticket holders. So whatever we can do to take care of them, honor them, thank them, continue to recruit them is, to me, always going to be our number one priority. In addition to that, we obviously have a lot of community functions and events that we have to work through. When I got here, there was a certain philosophy from administration as far as what they wanted to do and how we could work together on things. Obviously, there's been turnover there, and we have to kind of figure out the best way to roll those things out, when and how and what it'll look like. And quite honestly, we haven't quite done that yet. I think right now, football opener is August 31st. I don't know if us necessarily kind of getting in the way of that right now is probably best for all of us. I think we all want to make that football game the best it can be. We might roll out a date or something like that, or maybe some logistics on things, but I don't know if we'll be actively starting to promote things until at least Coach Davey and his team has kind of gotten their season off and going.
Where is Hendricks at?
Vontae is here. Vontae was in summer school, and right now we are kind of working through the particulars of his transfer situation. The NCAA actually just recently changed their directives on kids being eligible and transferring and things like that. So he did a semester of residency in the spring with us. He was here this summer for us. We intend for him to be here this fall with us, and we're going to work through the NCAA transfer and new directives and whether that's going to allow him to be eligible when the season starts in the fall, or whether he'll be a mid-December kid.
Coach, when you were talking about the two opportunities that you have left for your schedule, are you actively seeking like a name that will get the fans excited?
Yeah, Lee was kind of mentioning that. I think if it presents a series, if we can get anybody in our building that is of consequence, we're all about it. And we always have been. We have never turned down anybody that would ever want to play here, whether that's starting on the road or starting here or whatever it happens to be. And that's really why we've gobbled up UTEP and Grand Canyon, because once those opportunities present themselves, we just take them and we worry about some of the details later. So we've been holding out. If something like that presents itself, we'll do it. If not, then we'll kind of go down a different road.
Because You hit on it earlier, talking about how hard
If the opportunity presented itself, it'd already be done. You'd hear about it. You know what I mean? Like, so no, I'd be lying if I sat here and said, hey, we're deciding between this school and that school. We're just continuing to try and present ourselves in the best way we can for those teams to consider it. But like I said, as their conference schedules have expanded, their willingness to play these kinds of games has drastically diminished. They don't need our game anymore, just because of where it is. And we've been lucky. Sean Miller, for instance, at Arizona, who I commended after the game, will continue to commend, just did it because he's an old ball coach and thought it'd be a fun game to play. And if we can find some other old ball coaches, Tim Floyd did it for the exact same reason. He thinks UTEP should be in the Mountain West. You know, like if we can find some kind of old-fashioned people that appreciate those things above and beyond the metrics of everything, then we'll jump on it. But we haven't been lucky yet in that. We haven't been that lucky yet in that regard.
Coach, there were some situations last season, just big picture, where you said, this is something that I'll reflect on in the off season,
Yep.
just some different things like that. So I'm curious what you took away from this time in the off season.
I think the idea was from my perspective, staff-wise and player-wise, let's fill those holes or improve those weaknesses as quickly as we can. And I think if you watch us practice or play this year, we'll be incredibly tougher than we were last year. Last year's team was soft, let's be honest. And I didn't like it. We didn't like it. It wasn't what we wanted in any way, and I think this year's team just has a different physicality about it. It just has some sandpaper to it, and I like that. And the guys we brought in have that to them, and I'm really excited about that. I think staff-wise, I looked at it and also felt like, how can I do this in a better way that fits me or fits us? And I think we made some changes there that also are going to make our staff much more cohesive to me, our program, and us being successful. So I think those two areas are where I need them to be. The rest is just going to be self-improvement myself, and that's something I work on every single day, trying to be the best coach I can be, the best leader I can be, and I'm going to continue to work at that. I've had 3 amazing years of being a head Division I basketball coach, and I want to have 33 more. So year 4, I hope, is going to be the best one. I've learned a lot the last 3 years. There's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs along the way, but I'm also hopeful that where we've got this now, kind of like Will talked about, with I've got the players here, I've got the coaches here, I've got it where I want it, like this is mine now. Like I feel excited about that, and really I just want to go out and do it now. You know what I mean? I want to go out, and I think we do too. I think the players feel the same way. So November, whatever, can't come fast enough.
Coach, you already talked about several of the players. What's the status on Anthony January?
I don't know exactly what I'm allowed to share or not. He did sign an NLI, so I can talk about it. I don't know what I'm permitted to talk, and I might be able to talk about more than I can. I would just say at this point, we are uncertain of whether he'll join us in the fall.
Coach, it's the first year that you've had conference games during the normal non-conference schedule. How does it change your approach to the season, and also has it affected your non-conference scheduling?
Yeah, no, it has obviously a little bit, because someone might have a certain date and you can't play it there. It's new. I've never done it. I've never been a part of it. I know some big leagues have tried it. I think if you talk to a certain coach, they'll say they love it. Others don't. I'm probably just open to it. I don't want to sit here right now and say I think this is the greatest idea ever, or why are we doing this? It's probably my goal really right now is going to be our first scrimmage, and getting us ready for that and evolving as it goes. And I be honest, I think we're going to Wyoming, so I'm a lot more excited about going to Wyoming in the first week of December as opposed to the worst week in February. So selfishly, that's probably a little bit better. But other than that, to be honest with you, I don't have a ton to say on it. Yep.
I'm a little confused. So of the 5 transfers are freshmen. The only one you didn't mention was Emmanuel, I think. But all the rest of them are all right now ineligible except for Caldwell. Am I correct?
And the reason I probably haven't mentioned Emmanuel, and that's my fault, is he's already here. He's in summer school. He's eligible. He's good to go. He's practiced with us this summer, so he is all set. Kurt and Antoine, Sorry, I say Anthony sometimes because of his brother. But Kurt and Antoine are still working through becoming eligible, and we'll know more on them later. JJ just recently got eligible, I'm going to say 2 weeks ago. So he kind of joined us just for the tail end of the summer.
Well, Paul, with all that being said, do you have an idea, a baseline of what you think this team is going to look like when they take the court?
I do. We've that's pretty much been the summer. We've been kind of pushing and pulling on some offensive things, and same thing with the defensive side of the ball. And we've probably yet to find our sweet spot. Kind of like I mentioned, we just added JJ at the end of the summer. We got a couple, another addition probably coming in the fall. Jaquan, towards the end of the summer, we kind of shut him down. He kind of was with us for about the first 5 or 6 weeks, and then we just kind of played it safe and gave him the last couple of weeks to rest. So there's been a little bit of we haven't seen all these guys together, but we have been kind of working with kind of our offensive and defensive schemes and kind of the extent to which we want to do certain things. And we're kind of in a good general area right now. The guys have a feel for that. I have a feel for that. Now we just probably are going to fine tune it here from August through middle of October.
Coach, you mentioned that you thought you were a little soft last year, but did the last 2 games in Las Vegas prove to you that you can play your style with this group that's on your club?
I think a few things. I'm very encouraged by the last couple of games. Obviously, I think we all were. There was a good vibe kind of going through our program. But I am a big believer in just not the big picture, but the entire season and judging it that way. And I think it's hard for me to just take 1 or 2 games out and feel like we're further along, because I think in year one, we had a good finish, and it made me and a lot of people probably think we're a lot further ahead than we did. And that's why even with year 2, it's like, I think we can get a little optimistic, but let's not get too carried away here. We have a lot of work to do and a lot of things to be done. And I feel as though the players we've brought in now, to kind of answer your question, fit that mold much, much more as far as the toughness that I want, but then also the style of play that we need. I think when you see some of these guys we're talking about on the court, you're going to see kind of the kinds of guys we're bringing in to really fit the desire of how we want to play.
Last year you shared with us a couple goals, specific goals players were working towards. Do you have any you could share with us this year?
We do them kind of beginning of summer to end of summer. Weight goals, body fat percentage goals, academic goals. We kind of we'll sit with each guy and kind of put some things in front of them. And now that the summer's over, this is probably the time where we're going to kind of go through everything and kind of put some in place for these guys. Some are short term, some are long term. So unfortunately, I don't really have anything overly sexy to share right now, but there will be in the fall for sure. Most of the ones this summer, we've kind of already wrapped up.
Unless Cornwall has anything for
Coach,
your last.
As far as, I don't know if necessarily disappointed, but one of the players last year, McCotch, he was down. His percentages were really down, like
Yeah.
3-point shooting and everything. Do you think do you see a reason why he was down and why he might be better this year?
The best example I can give, I'm a Jays fan, so that's not a good thing right now, but our pitching staff's awful, and they've got these young prospects that they're trading for, and they're trying to keep them down in the farm system, because if sometimes you bring up these arms too quick, they're done. They're gone. You bring him up too early, he fails, and then you've lost a pitching prospect. And I think when I kind of said at the outset, I think the first couple of years I've been here, because we've been just trying to plug holes and get guys on the roster and increase the talent level, we haven't been able to maybe matriculate guys the way you would like to in a very strong program. A very strong program, if you bring in a freshman and he's ready to go, that's great, and you can bring him along and he's a star for 4 years. But it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes they need to incrementally grow. So I think, unfortunately, Quach just kind of got caught up in, he was in the part of a rebuilding program for 2 years, and there's going to be some bright spots and there's going to be some low spots. And ideally, going forward now, we'll be able to bring in freshmen where they're not going to feel the pressure, and they're not going to, all of a sudden, they've had a few bad games in a row, and everyone's like, oh my God, what happened to this kid? what happened to this kid, he's a sophomore, you know, and it's his second year in the country, and he's a very talented player, and he's probably going to have an incredible year this year. But to just think he was going to have an amazing freshman and sophomore and junior and senior year, it just doesn't always happen with them. And that's not anything on him. That's me. That's us. That's the talent level and the depth of our program not being where it needed to be, where we can bring him along on what's the best timeline for him, as opposed to just let's get guys out there that can play and help us no matter at what cost.
Coach McHale's emphasis on defense and his background with the press. You came here with the idea that you wanted to press all the time.
Yep.
You saw that the first year, every single game, every
Yep.
minute. You did go back and forth with last year's unit, trying to find what was the sweet spot for that team.
Sure.
What did you see with this group this summer that either tells you, yes, we can do that again this year like I wanted to when I first arrived, or is it still a work in progress that way, and could it be that way every season?
Yeah, no, I think in a weird way, West Virginia last year went through the exact same thing. And, and just talking to guys over there, they lacked the foot speed that they wanted to get it done with. And I think I think I even said it to you guys as the season was unfolding, I missed on some guys' foot speed and some guys' ability to play that way. And unfortunately, coupling that with some other things that happened, it just kind of didn't present itself in a great way. But I think, the newcomers we have this year, their foot speed, with regards to kind of how it finished and the confidence of where we're going, the guys that moved on and maybe, what their strengths and weaknesses were, I think the way it's kind of unfolded has been perfect for us. It's been ideal. And I think defensively, the leap we're going to make this year, I feel, is going to be pretty significant. I think when you look at the different facets of our team, you can make cases of, they may be better in this area or worse in that area and kind of go down the line. But I think defensively, obviously with Dan, with our style of play, with the players that we have, I really feel as though that's going to be our calling card this year. I think we can guard at a really high level and put ourselves in a position to hopefully win a lot of basketball games.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.